What's up, everybody? How you guys doing? Welcome to another episode of Jackson versus Jackson. I'm your boy, Erik T. Jackson. That's your other boy, Ajay
Coach
Jackson.
Coach
Go ahead.
Ajay Jackson, spelled capital AJAY, means victorious coach.
That's what's up. That's what's up. We bring you guys this podcast each and every week just to talk sports, talk uh, things that are happening in the community, and sometimes we just talk shit. You know what I'm saying? But it's a lot of fun, and I'm here for it. So today we'll talk about AJ's Dallas Cowboys. We'll talk about my Houston Texans. We'll talk about AJ's NCCU Black National Champion squad. We'll talk some college recruiting, and then we'll talk the release of Brittney Griner, what that means for the culture, and what that means. What kind of what does that project for America? Okay, because there's still some guys over there. Uh, so let's get started, big dog. Let's talk Houston Texans real quick. And I say real quick because they aren't very good, but there are Texans fans out there that really want to know my opinion on these guys. So they've been playing really good football lately, maybe too good, but I'll get into that in a second. Uh they almost well, I say almost defeated Kansas City, uh, but they lost. They took Dallas to overtime, lost that game. Been playing much better. They finally picked up a victory against the Tennessee Titans, whom who
Used
lost
to be the Texan team.
used to be the Oilers, but
Yep.
they're on a 5-game losing streak.
Hmm.
So the Texans are trending upward and the Titans are trending downward. So we beat them, but it was sort of interesting because their running back, Derrick Henry, had rushed for over 200 yards on the Texans in 4 straight games against us. And this game he had a little over 100, and we won. So that was the interesting part about that. Now, what I want to get into is the next 2 games. You see, we have Jacksonville next, which is a winnable game, even though they have a much better record than us. They are the division leaders right now, and they are also playing well right now. It's winnable. And then our last game is against Indianapolis, which they're playing terrible. We could arguably be considered better than them. We're playing better, but they have a better record, but they're playing terrible. So that gives us 2 winnable games. Let's say we win those 2 games, then we're no longer we no longer are in prime position to have the number 1 pick in next year's draft. And that's where my concern is right now, as I'm sure it is for 99% of the Houston Texans fans. Well, maybe 98%. And maybe 2% out there that just want us to win no matter what. But I'm not one of those 2%. So we have 2 victories right now. The team that will be picking second right now is the Chicago Bears. They have 3 victories. And then there's 3 teams with 4 victories. Arizona Cardinals has 4, Indianapolis has 4, and Denver has 4. So I'm sort of wishing those teams will win this next week to widen that gap for us, which will allow us to be able to win and me feel good about it. And we'll still be in position to have that number 1 draft choice. What's up, man?
Question: If let's say that Chicago and the Texans flip positions, do you think that Chicago would take a quarterback?
No, I don't. That
Okay, so
that's the thing.
do you feel pretty safe, or they may positionally have the position to trade that pick so somebody else can jump
There
in.
you go. There you go. It's out of our hands at that point. They can absolutely trade it and go trade down, and somebody can jump ahead of us and take Bryce Young, who I think will be the number one quarterback, even though there are reports that he's really small right now and skinny and that type of thing. But yeah, so out of the teams that are, that have 4 or less losses, the Bears, I think the way Justin Fields started this year was terrible, but the way he's played over the last half of the year, I think they're confident that they found their guy. Arizona still has Kyler Murray, and they've had issues there. I don't know if they would be willing to trade him, but who would be willing to take on that contract? I don't know. So I feel comfortable that they'll keep him. They won't draft a quarterback. Indianapolis, they need a quarterback. So they have 4 wins right now. If we're behind them, they will draft a quarterback, I believe. And Denver, the Russell Wilson experience has been sort of bad right now. And I don't even know. I know the head coach, there's already been reports that the Denver head coach, Nick Sirianni, will not survive this year. I'm not sure Russell Wilson will either, unless he has a multi-year deal. I'm not sure. He may have a big enough deal where he can survive this year, be given another year. But there's too many chances where we wouldn't be able to get the quarterback we want if we didn't have the number 1 pick. So, that's my biggest concern with the Texans moving forward, is keeping that number 1 pick, even if it means, not playing up to our abilities these last 2 games, just so we make sure we have that number 1 pick. What's up with the Cowboys, buddy?
Yeah, well, before I talk about the football part of the team, I got to talk about the owner.
Yes,
I've
sir.
been a Cowboy fan for about 50 years, man, since I was about 10. And I go on record to say that Jerry Jones was not the coach or part of the organization when I became a Cowboy fan.
Okay.
He is the owner now, and he's in charge and all of that. But I'm going to get on the media about 2 things that have happened and I haven't heard a whole lot about. One, there's a picture floating around about Jerry Jones standing in the crowd in the front, blocking, because he's from Arkansas.
Yep.
Blocking African-American kids who were trying to be get an education during segregated times. And he was right in the front, picture of him, highlighted, the whole 9. And the media has not covered that. Well, I'm going to make a statement about it, and I'm going to connect it to the situation when it got political, when former President Donald Trump said that if people kneel, they should be fired. And Jerry Jones came out and made a statement kind of backing that claim up. Now the chickens have come to roost, and nobody's covering it with the intensity that should be covered. A microphone should be put in his face, in his mouth, and asked him what was he thinking when he was doing that at the time. Now, he can say, well, I was a young, dumb kid and all of that, but then he had to explain the same type of behavior a few years ago when he said if any Cowboy fan kneels, any Cowboy player kneels, he's not going to be a part of the team. And they kind of worked it out so, it could look politically correct. So, he can't stand by and say, hey, man, I was a 20-year-old, silly kid, when he still showed the same type of behavior 4 years ago. Now that picture comes out. Now he's going to probably say it wasn't me, but everybody looked at that picture and said
that was him.
That's Jerry Jones, right? In Arkansas,
yep.
blocking African American kids that had to have the National Guard come and escort them to get an education.
Absolutely.
And again, because of what Jerry Jones said about his players about 4 years ago, to me, that's the same type of behavior. You just got more money and more prestige, and nobody's challenging them on that. They're giving them a pass, just like they gave a pass to the owner of the Patriots when they caught him in a brothel, right? And then when I listen to talk radio, well, it's not the same, and they always comparing African Americans to that, right? Now, when we say something, oh well, it's not all that. Well, I'm saying something. I think it's important, right? Because here's the deal: for Black people, right, in America, sports and politics runs together. Right? Now they talk about, oh, don't talk about politics, but the Bill Russells of the world, the Kareem Abdul-Jabbars of the world, the Jim Browns of the world use their prestige to advance Black people in this country.
Right.
So you can't separate the two, right? You can't do it. So I challenge everybody, and I'm a Cowboy fan, right? I'm not a fan of Jerry Jones because of these racist tendencies that are coming out, and the NFL hadn't said anything about it. And I believe that's because they're white billionaires, non-melanin men, right? And the press is suppressing it. They report a little bit, but they're not sticking microphones in his face every time he's out there, and they know where Jerry Jones is. So that's one part of it. The other part of it is the paternity suit. I'm watching the Cowboy game.
Before we get to the paternity suit real quick, I just wanted to throw in there that and I take it you may have heard this, and that's the reason that LeBron James brought it up. You know, he said, I'm the biggest athlete on the planet. You guys ask me about everything known to man that doesn't pertain to basketball. But y'all don't ask me about this Jerry Jones picture.
Oh,
said,
wow.
You know,
That's great to hear.
Yeah, he said, you guys know that I'm the biggest Cowboys fan. And y'all don't ask me about Jerry Jones. You know, he stood up and said, well, I'm gonna tell y'all what I think about Jerry Jones. Yeah.
Well, I feel good about that because I didn't know that he made a statement like that.
Yeah,
but that's justifiably right. You know,
exactly.
Again, again, I'm speaking without that knowledge. I'm glad to hear him say that because it needs to be said.
Yeah.
Because, you know, look how people have treated LeBron in terms of trying to make things stick to him and all of that. I know he's a big star and all that, and you got Skip, that's a LeBron hater, and you got guys like that. I'm not even talking about that. What I'm talking about though is now when the shoe gets on the other foot, nobody wants to ask him his opinion on non-melanin millionaires.
Exactly.
So I'm making the statement, right? I'm going to make the statement. I'm going to be, you know, that's why I made the statement when I told you about Brett Favre. You said, well, I don't think nobody. No, it's important, bro. It's important. These are public figures. Because if they would have been African American that did this, it'd be running on the news till something knocked it off the front page, and they would still be talking about it. Yeah. So now let's go to the part about the paternity suit. Okay. Right. I think that happened about a couple of years ago initially, and it slid by because of the pandemic and all that, and then you know people don't want to ruffle Jerry Jones's feathers because they want access, right? Yes. Well, let me tell you this. I said this when that happened, right? This is what I called them. I said, Jerry, the African-American education blocking baby daddy racist, right? Yeah. That's what Jones. That's his nickname for me, right? And the reason why I'm saying that is he blocked these young African-American kids when he was a young man from getting an education, number one. Now they got a paternity suit against him. And remarkably, during halftime of the Cowboy game on Saturday, they went to Fox News and they reported the story about the lady wants the daughter wants a paternity suit for proof. He's blocking it. He's blocking it with his attorneys. Man, just go to Maury Povich and see that if you are the father, it'll be simple. They should
Yeah.
put him on Maury Povich, man. They should make him go on Maury Povich.
Hey,
That would be
man.
awesome, wouldn't it?
They should make him go on the Steve Harvey show.
Steve
That would be
Harvey.
hilarious. Yeah, to get the paternity.
Nah,
You
man.
know.
Maury Povich, man. I mean,
Well, Pose
Maury
doesn't have a
Povich been
show
doing it.
anymore.
Huh?
He doesn't have a show anymore.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Maury Povich, yeah, that's incredible, right? So channel 39, run the afternoon, like 1 o'clock. I don't watch it, but I just seen, my point is, Maury Povich he made his life on paternity suits.
Yeah.
Could you imagine they throw Jerry Jones out there? And you know what's despicable, bro? Let me tell you this, and then we can transition. What's despicable, man, is how the powerful, and particularly non-melanin men, right?
Yeah.
They can use their threat of power to destroy people's careers, right?
Yeah.
If they report on this. And that's why a lot of people not reporting, right?
Oh yeah.
They're not reporting because of that. They want access to the Cowboys.
And he is powerful enough to be able to do that.
And, absolutely. But it still needs to be reported, bro. And it needs to be talked about. Because guess what? It's pop culture news.
You gotta have a backbone. You gotta have thick skin to be able to go up,
Well, the thing is, I'm going up against them right now. And the reason why I'm saying that is, man, bro, if the shoe was on the other foot and they was denying and and play, bro, they would be playing this stuff out, man.
Yeah.
TMZ would be all over the place. I ain't seen TMZ cover this yet.
TMZ shaking in their boots to report this stuff, man. They are not gonna report all of this. I mean, they may have touched on it. I'll give them that. I don't know. They may have touched on it, but they're not going to keep it out there because they don't want the repercussions that come with that.
Yeah, well, they dog everybody else out. I don't understand why they don't do that. I haven't seen a report. I haven't seen all of that, but I guess after the show, I'm gonna go look online and see what they have said.
Yeah,
but we could transition, Jack. Oh well, Let me just talk about the Cowboys real quick on the football end.
Go ahead.
The only thing I have to say about the Cowboys is I'm glad we beat the Eagles. Now that was important.
That'll be a Jalen Hurts-less Eagles.
Yeah, well, the Cowboys lost when they didn't have the first time when they didn't have Dak. So that's a cancel out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a cancel out. I mean, I was prepared for that. Yeah. My point is that the thing I don't like about the Cowboys is that sometimes they got this "we'll win it at the end" mentality.
Yeah.
And Jack, that's not a good way to coach or prepare yourself
at all.
Because a call could go against you, right, at the end, or bonehead play can happen, right?
Yep.
And so when you let yourself get down in that situation, now I'm not talking about we've been coaching for a long time, football and basketball.
Yep.
And I'm going to make some assumptions, but I know when I coach, do not let the officials decide the game at the end, especially in a game that you were dominating.
Right.
The Cowboys played the Jacksonville Jaguars while I was in Atlanta, going to the Celebration Bowl where the NCCU Eagles beat the Jackson State Tigers in overtime.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll talk about that. I was there. The game wasn't scheduled. They caught the end of the game because the game went into overtime. Okay. Right. So I didn't really see only look at the end of the game in overtime.
Yeah.
I didn't know till after that they were up 27-10 in the third quarter.
Yeah.
Right. So, you can't hold Dak responsible for that if you got a 2-touchdown lead or a 3-point scoring lead.
No, I get
People
you.
said, well, Dak should have did more, and Kellen Moore should have ran the football. Yeah.
And the defense should have stopped them.
Yeah. You know what though? But Jack, we've coached, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not in the NFL, but we've worked NFL camps. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, no, you're
right. And then we've also been on the sideline with headsets on and things happen and at certain times, right?
Yeah.
Most people haven't had that experience.
Right.
So it's easy to talk trash when you never had that experience.
Yeah.
My thing is, I forget who they beat. They beat somebody at the end, and it was all happy, right? That last drive, 3 games ago. Then they go to Jacksonville, tried to do that, got in overtime, and it backfired on them, and they lost. And then they had to hold on to beat Philly. So dominate your opponent while you can, Cowboys, right? And the other thing is, some of you Cowboys ain't going to be there next year. That's just the bottom line. That's the nature of the beast. So you better try to get your Super Bowl while you can. And then the other thing is, you better try to get your Super Bowl so that if you're playing well and they have to cut you, you can go to another team, because some guys ain't going to be in the NFL anymore. That's how I would be. I say, listen, guys, look, ain't nobody's job secure, right? Even mine as a coach.
Right.
But I tell you one thing, we better play for the Super Bowl right now, because I might not be here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. Yeah,
Am I right or wrong?
Absolutely right. Absolutely. So let's transition to a little bit of college football. Let's start with you and the Celebration Bowl. And what happened with that, man?
Oh, man. I went to Atlanta, and the Celebration Bowl, for the fans that don't know, it's when the SWAC plays the MEAC in the championship game for Black college football.
So it's billed as the Black College National Championship.
Right, exactly. So basically, North Carolina Central University, my alma mater, we won the MEAC, and that was the 3rd game I had an opportunity to go see. So I wasn't really blind about Central. In previous,
you mean about how good y'all are?
Well, I guess let me just kind of summarize it. I went to North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina. We played our rivals in Panther Stadium Labor Day weekend.
Yeah.
They were a 3-touchdown favorite against us, and they beat us the last 4 times, right? We came out on top. We beat North Carolina A&T, our rivals, 28-13 Labor Day weekend, that Saturday. And they were in shock. Now, let me just give you a little bit of background about Central, right? Trey Oliver, who was the coach, he coached at Central as a defensive back coach. He went around the Black college circuit. I think he even did some stuff with the NFL, and he came back, and he played 2 seasons ago, well, 3 seasons ago now, with 19 freshmen. Now, three seasons later, he had a quarterback who had some games under his belt and is a very, very good quarterback. His last name is Richard. So anyway, to make a long story short, we beat North Carolina A&T. Then on homecoming, first weekend in November, I go down and we play Howard University. Howard comes on our campus. They were a favorite to play Central. We beat Howard 51-24 homecoming.
Wow.
So I saw this with my own eyes. One thing about Central, the 3 games I've seen play, even against Jackson State, where Central won in overtime 41-34, right?
Yep.
Their red zone defense has made some outstanding plays that have kept no points off the board. Because when you get within the 20 and you don't score, you usually get a field goal attempt.
Yeah.
But if you get a caused fumble or an interception or a blocked field goal, right? That's goal line. That's red zone defense. That's not goal line. That's red zone defense.
Right.
It might be goal line defense if they're within the 5-yard line, right? But Central has made plays like that in the 3 games that I've seen. And they did that against Jackson State. You saw the game?
So Central lost 2 games. What happened in those 2 games?
They played so they lost to Campbell University. That was an out of conference game or out of conference game.
Okay, so HBCU.
They got beat up by them. I didn't see the game, but I saw the score. I don't remember it. They got beat up by them.
Okay.
And Jackson State took them apart, right?
Yeah.
We also lost to South Carolina State, who won and beat Jackson State last year
in the Celebration Bowl.
In the Celebration Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
So at homecoming, we were 2 games behind South Carolina State, and that was the beginning of November. By the end of November, South Carolina State lost 2 games.
Yeah.
So that gave us the MEAC championship, and then we went on to play Jackson State in a thriller in the ATL.
Yeah, yeah. So
and
what happened
and that
in
game
Celebration
is billed
Bowl?
as the national championship of HBCU football.
Yeah.
So
do you think that Deion Sanders taking the Colorado job had took a little bit of steam out of Jackson State going into that game?
Can't speak for them, man. Don't know them. You know, I just know what we did. And look, let me tell you this: nobody believed in us really, but us. Nobody picked us, right? You know, I mean, like I saw a score when I was in Atlanta, 52-10. Was, you know, and that's kind of how it's been all year for us.
Mm-hmm.
But our quarterback, man, that guy should get some consideration for pros, bro. That guy can play.
Oh, I saw him. He can definitely.
Man, he don't make many mistakes, man.
Right.
He don't make many mistakes. You know, like I think in the 3 games I saw, he only threw 1 interception. That's it. And so you know, so like maybe out of 75 attempts, I mean, he almost had to play perfect football against Jackson State on offense, and he did.
He's a big guy that can throw it.
Yeah, he's 6'2", 6'3". He reminded me of Dante Culpepper with that number 11 on. Big dude, man.
Okay. Dante Culpepper playing at NCCU. That's what's up, man.
Yeah. I mean, he looks like that dude. He's 6'2", 6'3", 235. That's a big quarterback.
Oh yeah. And he has to be playing behind some of these offensive lines that aren't very good in the NFL. So you know that's gonna work towards his advantage. Is he a senior? Will he be?
He'll be a senior next year.
Okay, so
he'll be a senior next year.
Okay. We'll see what they can do next year then, man. So let me talk about recruiting a little bit, man. And of course, I'm gonna talk about my Aggies because the early signing day was this past week. It started this past week. It runs through January, but it started this past week. The Aggies, man, we signed 2 5-star recruits, offensive lineman out of Austin Westlake, TJ Shanahan Jr. Texas wanted him, Alabama wanted him, Georgia wanted him. He committed to us a long time ago, stuck to his commitment and signed. We signed another 5-star defensive lineman out of Katy Pato, DJ Hicks Jr.
Yeah, I've seen that kid. That kid is that's an awesome kid there.
Yeah, his dad is the new head coach at Pato.
Yeah, I read that also. But man, he's a stud, bro.
Yeah, his dad coached at Sharpstown a few years before I got there.
Okay.
Yeah, his dad was on Dallas Blacklock staff. But yeah, so it would have been awesome if he'd have stayed at Sharpstown and I'd have got to coach that boy up. He'd be a 6-star if I'd have coached him up. But Texas A&M has a solid class. We're gonna have a much smaller class this year because you may not remember, but last year we had the #1 rivals recruiting class of all time, right? You remember that? So we had like 30 recruits. So, you know, they give you a certain amount to get in a 2-year period. And I think it's like 48, 50, something like that. So our class can't be any bigger than maybe 19 or 20 this year. And we've just signed 18. So we'll have room to maybe sign 1 or 2 more. but we're going to fill out our team through the portal, as a lot of teams are, you know. So I talked about it yesterday about how uh, Texas A&M is getting some heat for having roughly 20 guys in the portal. But the fact of the matter is, A&M might get a lot of those guys back, depending on who they want or who they allow to come back. Just because you go in the portal, don't mean you're gonna get picked up by somebody else, and it doesn't mean that you're off your team totally. I've seen guys come back that go in the portal, but when you go in the portal, that's a grown man decision, because that coach may not allow you back, and you may not get picked up by anybody else. So if you want to go that route, make sure you have your I's dotted and your T's crossed, so to speak, because you can't tell me cats don't go into the portal already knowing who they have offers out from, and what'll be a soft landing spot. It would be a fool's errand not to know. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't have my son put himself in the portal without having some kind of educated guess as to where he can go. And that's what a lot of that is. You know what I'm
Jack,
saying?
let me ask a question. So indirectly, you'd make some contact, or they make some contact with you, because you're really under contract with your school.
It
right?
has to be indirectly. It can't be directly.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. I want to be very clear.
Yeah.
Because until you put yourself in there, right, you kind of sending out smoke signals and that type of thing, right?
Right. And
I got you.
Yeah. So, and a lot of it, from what I've heard, is mediated through high school coaches and that type of thing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Well, and that's been going on for years. So you can say
But
what you
now it's
want
just
about
above. Now it's just above board.
it. Yeah. And they can't police, third parties and as such. But we did bring in one. Texas A&M did bring in one portal guy so far, and he's a cornerback from North Carolina. His name is Tony Grimes. He was a 5-star out of high school. He's played 3 years at North Carolina. Texas A&M was actually his second choice when he chose North Carolina, and he's ready to move on. So he signed with us. So we do have him. That increases our cornerback depth. We signed like 3 really good cornerbacks already. So that cornerback room will be strong next year. But we did lose some good ones to the portal. We still have some good ones available. And the DC at North Carolina, Gene Chizik was my defensive coordinator at Stephen F. Austin. I like to throw that out there. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I didn't know that. Oh, okay.
I definitely have history with Gene Chizik and his cover 2 scheme, and I think Tony Grimes wanted a more man scheme that Texas A&M runs, and he got sort of fed up with the zone scheme that Coach Chizik likes to run.
And Chizik was he was the head coach at Auburn back in the day, right?
Yeah, they won a national title in 2010.
Yeah.
So
and then he was in the radio room doing radio and TV
for
for
SEC
about
Network.
a year, right?
Yeah. I didn't think he would go back to coaching because he had stopped coaching when his girls were in college. I think both of his girls, he has twin girls and a son. I think both of his girls went to Princeton.
Oh, okay. New Jersey.
Yeah. His girls were born in Nacogdoches. They were born when I was there. But yeah, they went to New Jersey. But
my home state. You see, I got my Rutgers, right?
I see the Rutgers hat. So Chizik left Stephen F. Austin and went to Central Florida to be the DC. They did really well. That was when Dante Culpepper was there.
Oh, okay.
Then he left Central Florida after about 3 years and was the DC at Auburn. He was a DC at Auburn for a while. Undefeated team, didn't make the BCS national championship game, even though they were undefeated and from the SEC. So then UT and Mac Brown hired him to be the DC at UT. He was the DC when Vince Young led UT to their national championship.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So then he got the head coaching job at Iowa State. See how I've been following this brother?
Well, he coached. You know what, man? I mean, just like players you play with or you coached, no different than coaches. That's That's amicable. That's very
Yeah,
amicable.
yeah. So he didn't do very well as a DC at Iowa State, uh, at all. But he went from Iowa State to the head job at Auburn.
Wow.
And in his second season, he brings in Cam Newton. And I'll tell you another story. Somebody that he brought from our Stephen and Foston days, Coach Looper, Curtis Looper, who is uh, Curtis Looper was a GA at SFA. You know, he was taking all the girls from us young bucks. He was like 30 and taking all the girls from us. But yeah, he's at Missouri now as running backs coach, but he was at Oklahoma State, he was at TCU, Auburn. He's the one that found Cam Newton, brought him in. So they got Cam Newton and won the national title. Then 2 years after that, they had Gus Malzahn as the OC. Coach Chiswick was fired. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
that's the deal with him, man.
Jack, we had the 2-minute warning. Let me just jump in a little bit if I may.
Uh-huh.
First of all, as far as recruiting, North Carolina Central University, the Black College HBCU poll came out, and we are number 8 in the recruiting wars at this point in time. And Jack, I just want to make sure. I know we're going to talk more about recruiting probably in our next segment and go deeper. But I want to talk about, if it's okay, it was on our agenda, talk about Brittney Griner. Let me just get this in for the last minute or so, if I may, because it's something that I have been championing since I think it was I had a prayer vigil for her in front of her school, which is Nimitz High School in the district I used to teach in, the Aldine district in Houston.
Yep.
And had the flyer and everything, Jack,
Mm-hmm.
and I made sure that I kept her alive. Fox News came out and covered it. It was on May 17th of this year.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we had a prayer vigil and a rally. And, I'm so happy that she's been released.
Yeah.
He had nothing to do with what this was going on. She was a political pawn.
Right.
It's disgrace what they did to this African-American woman. And I just have to come out and say I'm really pleased and that this has happened. So I know we got to wind down, Jack.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, that's a great point, man.